She was born in a glass tower above the city, in a penthouse where the floor was marble, and the view was always of lights, never of stars. Her family owned hotels, land, companies with names printed on buildings. People didn't say her name. They said her last name, because that was where the real power was. And then, one day, the girl who had everything did the one thing no one expected. She left. She walked away from the drivers, the bodyguards, the black credit card with no limit. She traded parties for river water, perfume for smoke from the fire, high heels for bare feet on red earth. She gave up her family's multi-million-dollar fortune to live in an indigenous village and to marry the man they called a mistake and she called home. For a while, it felt like love would be enough to keep the world outside, until the day a luxury SUV appeared on the dirt road, until the door slammed, until her father stepped out, face burning with fury, shouting that he had come to take her back. Before I tell you what she chose that day, tell me in the comments which country you're watching from, because this isn't just her story. It's about every person who has ever had to decide, do I obey the life my family chose or the life my heart chose? By the time Aurora turned 25, nobody asked her what she wanted anymore. They just reminded her who she was. The heir. The girl whose last name shone in gold on hotel facades, office doors, and charity banners. Her childhood was leather car seats, private school, and being told to smile for the photo more times than she could count. Weekends were not rest. They were brunch with investors, dinners with politicians, galas where strangers kissed her cheeks and whispered, "You're so lucky." No one ever asked if luck felt heavy. Every morning, Aurora woke in the glass tower that floated above the city. From her window, she saw highways like glowing veins, billboards shouting without sound, skyscrapers made of mirrored pride. Her father, Enrique Vasconcelos, loved to say, "Up here, we see the world as it really is." To Aurora, it looked like the world as he had built it. The first crack in that world came on a night that was supposed to be perfect. The ballroom glittered with chandeliers and sequins. A string quartet played something elegant and forgettable. Aurora stood beside her father on stage, smiling for cameras while he announced their new eco-resort near a river she had never seen. Behind them, a giant screen showed endless green and a shining brown ribbon of water. "It's about connection with nature," Enrique said into the microphone. "Luxury and sustainability, hand in hand." Applause, flashes, champagne. Later, alone in a side room, Aurora stared at one of the photos more closely. It wasn't just a river in the middle of nowhere, like her father called it in meetings. Tiny in the background, almost hidden, were wooden houses, clothes on a line, children standing near the water, looking straight at the camera. They didn't look like scenery. "Who lives there?" she'd asked once in the car. "People who will be very well compensated," Enrique answered smoothly. "Focus on the bigger picture, Filha." The bigger picture always had their logo in the corner. Weeks later, the second crack opened. Without telling her father, Aurora asked the driver to take her to the project site. The city shrank behind them, replaced by smaller houses, then potholed roads, then red dirt and forest that grew thicker and taller like it was trying to block their way. When they stopped, dust rose around the car like a tired ghost. Trucks were parked near half-finished buildings. Men in hard hats shouted over the noise of machines. The air smelled of wet earth and gasoline. Aurora stepped out. Her white sneakers sank into mud. Above her, the sky seemed wider, less filtered, less tamed. For a moment, she just breathed, as if she'd been underwater for years and finally found air. She followed the sound of water, ignoring the security guard calling her name. The noise of engines faded behind her. Between the trees, the river appeared, broad, brown, and alive, carrying leaves, branches, and reflected light. That's where she saw him. A man stood barefoot in the shallows, pulling a small wooden boat toward the shore. His hair was long and black, tied low at his neck. His skin was the color of soil after rain. A simple shirt, worn shorts, nothing with a logo on it. He moved like the river moved, unhurried, certain. Their eyes met. For a second, the world muted. "Você está perdida?" he asked, voice calm but cautious. "Are you lost?" The question hit something inside her. Lost. Surrounded by men in uniforms with her last name on the chest. Protected, scheduled, watched. She was not allowed to be lost. "I'm just looking," she said. "At what?" he asked. She didn't know. He tied the boat to a tree. 2 children sprinted down the path toward him, laughing. "Irama, oleo kia aguatros." They held up a piece of driftwood, smoothed into a heart by current and time. He smiled, touched their hair, then glanced back at Aurora. "This is our village," he said quietly. "They say soon it will be a hotel." The word "our" caught in her chest. "Our company is building something nearby," she admitted. "An eco-resort." He noticed the watch on her wrist, the clean white shoes, the car in the distance. A slight sad knowing appeared in his eyes. "Of course," he said. "The city likes to use eco when it wants to feel less guilty." There was no hate in his voice, just fatigue. Somehow that cut deeper than anger. She should have gone back to the car. Instead, she stayed. She listened. He told her about the river, how it rose and fell like breathing. About the old woman who swore she could hear when the fish were near. About children who learned the names of trees before they learned the days of the week. He talked about the land in a way no presentation ever had. Not as an opportunity, but as a relative. He didn't ask her last name. He didn't treat her like a key to some future deal. For the first time in her life, Aurora's surname felt less like a crown and more like a weight she could set down beside the water. Back in the penthouse, everything felt wrong. The glass walls looked like screens showing someone else's life. The city noise below sounded thinner than the river. At dinner, Henrique raised his wine glass and talked about licenses, investors, and how they'll thank us when they see the jobs we bring. Aurora thought of the children's bare feet in the shallows, of Irama's hands steady on the boat rope, of houses that didn't appear on any blueprint. She started going back. Officially, she was supervising progress. Her assistant scheduled the visits, her father approved, proud that she was finally taking an interest in the business. Unofficially, she was learning the sound of crickets at dusk, the feel of a hammock, the way Irama's laughter softened when he looked at her. He taught her to read the river's mood. She taught him how to say certain words in English, laughing when he rolled his eyes at pronunciation. When he first said her name, slowly, tasting each syllable, Aurora, it sounded different, not like a brand, like the beginning of a day. "You're named after the moment the light returns," he said, "not after your father's company." No one in the tower had ever said that. The more she walked between those two worlds, the more impossible it became to pretend they could stay separate. In the city, mirrors, marble, plans. At the river, mud, wood smoke, stories. In one life, she was expected to protect a fortune. In the other, she listened to people trying to protect their home from that same fortune. The night everything tipped, Henrique laid a folder on the dining table. "Final blueprints," he said, proud. "Construction starts full speed next week. Once this is done, we'll change the region forever." Later, alone, Aurora opened the folder. The resort was beautiful, on paper. Villas tucked among stylized trees, curved pools, spa decks facing the river. But she saw the negative space, the houses that would vanish, the soil that would be cut open, the silence drowned by generators and strangers. She thought of Irama's voice. "This is our village." And suddenly, for the first time in 25 years, she knew exactly what she wanted. Not a bigger tower, not her face on magazine covers. She wanted to choose her own side. The decision didn't roar. It arrived quietly, like dawn, soft but unstoppable. She would not watch from a distance while her father's world swallowed his. She would step out of the glass tower and not come back, even if it meant giving up everything her last name could buy. Even if it meant walking straight into a life that everyone else would call insanity. Early the next morning, before the city fully woke, Aurora packed a small backpack, a few clothes, a worn notebook, a photo of herself as a child, laughing with mud all over her shoes. The last time she remembered being dirty and happy at the same time. Downstairs, the driver opened the car door, expecting the usual address. "Where to, señorita?" he asked. She looked at the horizon, where the buildings ended and the sky began to feel bigger. "To the river," she said, "and don't tell my father." It was the day she stopped being the girl who inherited everything and started becoming the woman willing to lose it all. When Aurora left the city, the world didn't collapse around her. It simply went silent. The silence wasn't peaceful at first. It was sharp, almost accusing. The hum of air conditioners, the buzz of phones, the rhythm of elevators, all gone. The only sound that remained was the steady whisper of the river, as if nature itself were speaking a language she had once known but forgotten. She arrived at the edge of the village carrying just a single backpack. No bodyguards, no chauffeur, no plans. Only a choice, the kind people call madness until it begins to make sense. The villagers saw her long before she spoke. Children ran ahead, announcing her arrival. Women paused their chores, eyes narrowing with the quiet caution of those who had learned that outsiders often brought promises that rotted in the sun. And then, from the shadow of a tree, came Irama. He wasn't surprised. He had felt it coming, the way the wind feels the rain before it falls. But when he saw her, hair tied messily, shoes stained red from the earth, eyes burning with both fear and certainty, he understood this wasn't a visit. "You came back," he said. "I came to stay," she answered. He studied her, like someone weighing the worth of a jewel, not for its shine, but for whether it could survive pressure. "You know what that means?" "I know," she said. "It means starting again." He nodded once, and that was enough. No speeches, no questions, only acceptance. The first days were harder than she'd imagined. Her hands blistered from carrying water. Her feet cracked on the rough ground. She burned rice, broke baskets, tripped on roots. But the villagers did not laugh. They watched her, measuring, waiting to see if she would give up like others before her. Aurora didn't. She woke before sunrise and followed the women to the river. They taught her how to wash clothes with stones, how to catch small fish, how to read the sky for rain. When she spilled water, they smiled softly and said, "The river forgives mistakes." Each night, she lay in a hammock under a roof of woven leaves. The air smelled of smoke and damp soil. In that simplicity, she found something no penthouse could ever give her, a sense of belonging without ownership. Still, her past followed her like a shadow. She could feel it pulsing in her pocket, the phone she had sworn not to touch. 3 days later, she turned it on. It came alive like a monster, hundreds of missed calls, messages, threats, tears, and promises, all from the same man, her father. She hesitated for hours before finally pressing call. The line connected instantly. "Aurora?" Enrique's voice thundered through the speaker. "Where are you? Are you insane?" "I'm safe," she said quietly. "I'm at the river." "What river?" he barked. "Do you have any idea what you're doing? You're humiliating this family." She closed her eyes. "I'm finding my own life, Pi." He laughed, the kind of laugh that had once silenced boardrooms. "You think this is life? You're living in huts. You're drinking dirty water. You belong here, with us, not with those people. Those people have names," she said sharply, "and they have something we lost a long time ago. Peace." There was a pause, and when he spoke again, his voice was colder. "If you stay there, Aurora, you lose everything. The money, the inheritance, your place in this family." "I don't want your money," she said. "You don't understand what you're saying. You're being manipulated. That man—" "His name is Irama," she interrupted, "and he never asked me for anything." Enrique's fury came like fire. "You're blinded by him. You think he loves you for you? He loves what you represent. You will regret this." The line went dead. The silence afterward was heavier than before. Irama found her sitting by the river, phone still trembling in her hands. "He'll come," she whispered. "I know," he said. "You're not afraid?" He looked at the current, steady and endless. The river doesn't fear men who shout at it from the shore. The following days became a blur of work and waiting. Aurora tried to lose herself in the rhythm of the village, cooking, fetching water, learning stories from the elders. The people still watched her cautiously, but little by little suspicion turned to quiet respect. One evening she helped Janaina, an older woman with eyes sharp as stone, peel cassava roots. "Why are you here, Fila?" Janaina asked. Aurora hesitated. "Because I wanted to feel useful." "Then you came to the right place," Janaina said, smiling faintly. "Here everyone is useful. Even the wind has work to do." At night, Aurora often sat by the fire, listening to Irama tell stories. His voice carried images of spirits in the forest, of ancestors who had walked the same riverbanks long before the world had names. When she laughed, it wasn't polite, it was real. When she cried, no one told her to stop. Days turned into weeks. Her father didn't call again, until one afternoon. The sound of an engine broke the calm. A black SUV appeared at the end of the dirt road, gleaming like a weapon. The villagers stopped what they were doing. Dogs barked. Children hid behind their mothers. Aurora's heart stopped. She knew that car. Henrique stepped out first, in a white shirt that had never seen dirt. His expression wasn't anger this time, it was purpose. Behind him came a lawyer with a folder, and a man whose eyes looked like they were trained to intimidate. He walked straight toward her, not bothering to greet anyone. "Aurora," he said, his voice slicing the air. "Get in the car." "I'm not leaving," she said. "This isn't a debate." His tone hardened. "You're coming home. I am home." The words hung there. The lawyer shifted uncomfortably. Irama appeared beside her, silent but unyielding. Henrique looked him up and down, disgust in his eyes. "So this is the man who took my daughter?" "No one took me," Aurora said. "I walked here." "You're throwing away a fortune for this," he spat, gesturing at the village, the huts, the children, the dirt. "For them," she said, "for a life that's mine." He exhaled through his teeth, fury mixing with disbelief. "You've lost your mind." "No," she said, voice breaking but firm. "I've finally found it." Henrique stared at her for a long time, perhaps searching for the obedient girl he once controlled. But she was gone. He turned to the lawyer. "Prepare the papers. She's cut off. Everything." Aurora didn't flinch. She only said, "Good. Now I'm free." When the car disappeared in a cloud of dust, the villagers gathered around her. Some placed hands on her shoulders, others simply smiled. Janaina whispered, "Now you're one of us. Not because you stayed, but because you refused to leave." That night, as she sat beside the river with Irama, watching the moon float on the surface of the water, Aurora finally understood what peace truly cost. It wasn't comfort. It wasn't money. It was courage. The courage to stand between two worlds and choose the one that made you feel alive. For a moment, no one moved. Henrique stood near the SUV, his shadow longer than he was, cast across the red earth like a dark line drawn between two worlds. Behind him, the man in the suit adjusted his tie and the folder in his hands. The other man scanned the village with a cold, assessing gaze, as if counting threats that didn't exist. Aurora felt every heartbeat in her chest. Children clustered behind their mothers. A dog growled low, then retreated under a hut. The river kept flowing, ignoring the human storm. "I said," Henrique repeated, slower this time, "get your things, we're going home." Aurora didn't move, but she didn't look away either. "I am home," she answered. The words were small in the open air, but they landed heavy. Henrique blinked as if she'd spoken in another language. "You are not staying here," he said. "Enough of this theater. You've had your little rebellion, now it's over. Do you have any idea what this is doing to our name? To the company? To your future?" Behind Aurora, someone stepped forward. It was Irama. He walked to stand beside her, not in front, not behind. His hand brushed hers for a second, not gripping, not claiming, just reminding her he was there. "With respect," he said, "this isn't about your company. It's about your daughter." Henrique turned his head slowly, eyes narrowing as if finally acknowledging the presence of the man he had decided was the enemy. "You must be him," he said. "The reason my daughter thinks she's suddenly a different person." "I didn't make her anyone," Irama replied. "I just met who she already was when she stepped out of your car." The lawyer shifted, clearly wishing he were anywhere else. He opened the folder, But Enrique raised a hand without looking. "Aurora," he said, voice tightening. "I did not come here to debate with strangers. You're coming with me. If you want to play at camping and charity, fine. We'll build a foundation. We'll visit, with cameras, safely. But you will not throw away your life in the mud. Mud washes off," Aurora said quietly. "Regret doesn't." She could see the vein in his neck pulse. In childhood, that had always meant, stop talking, sit down, obey. She stayed standing. Enrique took a step closer, his polished shoes leaving shallow prints in the dirt. "Listen to me very carefully," he said. "If you stay, you lose everything. Your accounts, your inheritance, your seat on the board. You think these people can protect you when you're sick, when you're old? You think love pays for hospitals?" A murmur rose from the villagers. They didn't understand every word, but they understood his tone. "Your money never protected me from being unhappy," Aurora replied. "And it certainly never protected anyone here from what your projects would do." "You're brainwashed," he snapped. "You've been manipulated. That's why I brought someone who can explain the legal side." He gestured sharply. The lawyer stepped forward, clearing his throat. "Señorita Vasconcelos," he began. "Legally speaking, your father has concerns that you may be under undue influence. If necessary, we can request a temporary interdiction." "She's not a child," someone interrupted. All heads turned. Chief Janaína stepped out from the group, her posture straight, her hair streaked with gray, her eyes steady. When she spoke, her voice carried easily. "She is a grown woman," Janaína said. "No one here is keeping her. If she wishes to go, the path is open. If she wishes to stay, no one has the right to drag her by the arm like a goat to market." The lawyer hesitated. "We're only looking out for her safety," he said weakly. "You don't even look at her when you speak," Janaína replied. "You look at him." Her nod toward Enrique cut sharper than any insult. Aurora swallowed hard. The village had never asked for her to choose. They had only asked her to be honest about what that choice would mean. Enrique's gaze flicked between his daughter and the woman who dared to contradict him. "This place is not safe," he insisted. "You think your feelings protect you from infection, from floods, from danger. You belong in a world where I can shield you." Aurora thought of the nights alone in the glass penthouse, of the alarm codes and cameras and guards. She had been shielded from dirt, from noise, from anyone who could challenge her father's version of reality, but also from herself. "For years," she said slowly, "you protected me from everything except the emptiness I felt. I'm not ungrateful. I know what you built, but you built a cage and called it a gift." His face shifted just for a moment. Hurt flickered there, quickly drowned by anger. "I built a future," he hissed. "And I'm building another one," she said. "One that I choose." The enforcer-looking man stepped closer to Enrique's shoulder. "We can escort her to the car, senor," he murmured. "If she resists, it will look worse for them than for us." A hush fell over the clearing. Birds watched from the trees. Children held their breath. Irama's jaw tightened, but he didn't move toward aggression. He moved toward Aurora, his voice low. "This is your moment," he said. "Not his, not mine, yours. If you tell us to stand aside, we will. If you tell us to stand with you, we will." Her legs felt like they were filled with river water, unsteady, heavy, but still carried her weight. She looked at her father, at the familiar line of his mouth, at the tiredness under his eyes. He wasn't a monster. He was a man who had spent so long fighting the world that he no longer knew how to live without an enemy. Now, somehow, she had become one of his battles. "Pie," she said, and the word tasted like childhood and distance. "You taught me to never settle for less than what made me proud. I'm not proud of hiding behind your money. I'm not proud of pretending I don't see what our projects do. I am proud when I wake up here, when I work, when I look at my own hands and know what they did that day." He opened his mouth to argue, but she raised a hand. "You told me once," she continued, "that everything has a price. Maybe you were right. The price of staying with you is losing myself. The price of staying here is losing your fortune. I have to choose which loss I can live with. Tears burned the back of her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. I can live without the money, she said. I cannot live without myself. Silence. The lawyer looked down at his folder. The enforcer studied the villagers, realizing that while they stood unarmed, they were not defenseless. They were many. They were rooted. This land knew their footsteps. Henrique's shoulders rose and fell with slow, measured breaths. For the first time, he seemed smaller, not because he had shrunk, but because Aurora was no longer looking up at him from inside his shadow. You'll regret this, he said finally. One day, when the river floods, when the roof leaks, when there's no doctor, no security, you'll remember this moment. I will, she agreed, and I'll remember that I chose it. He searched her face for any sign of weakness, any crack he could push his will through. He found none. Something in him sagged. Without another word, he turned back to the car. The lawyer followed, clutching the useless folder. The enforcer hesitated a fraction of a second longer, then nodded once in Aurora's direction. Not approval, not condemnation, just acknowledgement, before getting in as well. The engine started. The SUV reversed, turned, and rolled away, dragging a cloud of dust along the road it had carved into the village's memory. When the sound faded, the world seemed too quiet. Aurora realized she was shaking. Then she felt it. A hand on her shoulder, another on her back. Someone squeezed her fingers. She hadn't noticed the villagers stepping closer, but now they surrounded her. Not to trap, not to claim, but to hold. You didn't just choose us, Janaína said softly. You chose you. Irma stood in front of her, eyes shining, not with triumph, but with relief. Are you sure? He asked quietly, one last time. This path won't be easy. She laughed, a small broken sound that slowly turned real. I've had easy, she said. Easy almost killed me. He pulled her into his arms, and the village, usually so careful with strangers, did not look away. They watched a woman who had been born in a glass tower stand barefoot on their earth and finally look like she belonged somewhere. That night, the river sounded different to her, not because it had changed, but because she had finally stopped standing on its bank, wondering which world was hers. She knew. She had given up a fortune her name had promised her, but gained a life her heart had been begging for. And though she sometimes woke afraid of all she'd lost, when she stepped outside and saw the sky unbroken by buildings, heard children laughing in a language that had adopted her, and felt Irma's hand find hers in the dark, she realized something her father might never understand. Some choices don't make sense on paper. They only make sense where numbers don't reach. In the place where a person finally truly feels at home,